Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Women in STEM speaker series, where we introduce you to some inspiring female role models who are doing incredible work in a wide variety of STEM fields. This series is supported by the Association of Science and Technology Centers and If Then through a gender equity grant, which supports projects aimed at increasing the representation of women and gender minorities in STEM. My name is Sarah Grummett, and I serve as the Assistant Volunteer and Internships Coordinator here at the Carnegie Science Center. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them. So today I'm really excited to talk with Mercy Shitemi, who is a Senior Systems Analyst at Zimmer Biomet. Mercy's pronouns are she, her. Mercy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Sarah.
So I have a few questions to kind of get us started in our conversation, but for folks watching the live stream, you are all encouraged to submit questions of your own. You can leave your questions in the comments and we will do our best to get to answer them later on. So Mercy, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, of course. So I am actually born in Kenya, grew up in Kenya, moved to the US when I was 20 to pursue my Bachelor of Science. So I moved to Indianapolis first, where I went to school at Indiana University in Indianapolis, got my bachelor's in informatics. So, got that, worked for about a year in Indianapolis, and then decided I wanted to go to grad school. I come from a very academic background, so both my parents were college professors. So education was, a very important thing. So I knew I was gonna go through grad school. So I applied to a couple of schools actually across the country, but Duquesne was the school I chose. So that's why I moved to Pittsburgh. And I got my Master's of Science in Information Systems Management. I fell in love with Pittsburgh. With Pittsburgh, and I met my spouse here, so I ended up staying in Pittsburgh, and I enjoy it so far. So I had a couple of jobs since I graduated grad school. I worked at the Children's Museum, the Carnegie Museums, and then about a year and a half ago, started working at Zimmer Biomet. So that's sort of in a nutshell where I'm coming from.
Wonderful. So for anybody watching today who may not know, can you give us a little explanation? You said your undergrad degree was in informatics. What does that mean?
So informatics, in a nutshell, is looking at the social sides of technology. So we do learn, bit of tech aspects, a little bit of engineering, some, mathematical, philosophical foundations, but then more emphasis is placed on how to present technology to different types of people in different industries, sort of how to make people's, work day more efficient and effective using technology, which was actually a perfect field for me because, I do enjoy technology, but I don't want to, to be in a position where I just work by myself 24 hours a day, So this allows me to, work with people, communicate with people, but then, having technology as a background. So that's what informatics is.
Thank you. That is a really great little explanation. It certainly cleared it up for me. And, as for making science and technology a little more accessible, I think that particularly in the current context, that is really important. So.
Yeah.
All right. So Mercy, can you tell us what does an average day in your career look like? Can you tell us what you love about your job or any projects you're working on?
Yeah. So you see, good thing with my career, at least my job, is, every day is very different. There's definitely, a few standards that follow through. first thing I do when I start my workday is I have to go to my, list of blogs and see what changed overnight. Working with technology, especially in the cloud environment, things change, on an hourly basis. So I'm constantly reading and studying up on what actually changed. So that's the first thing I do. My work is very project-based. So communicating with team members, my fellow coworkers to just stay on top of projects and get, project work done. I also do a lot of, translation of business requirements into, tech requirements. So I actually do talk and meet with people quite a bit in my field. And then the rest of my day would just be spent around, basically working in the cloud space, trying to build things from nothing. So that's about it.
Okay, very cool. Is there one particular thing that you could share with us that you really love about your job?
Oh, yeah. So one of the parts of my job is basically modernizing a workplace environment, so sort of translation of, paper-based processes to online workflows and using apps to kind of, modernize, the workplace. So we're talking about, when a company decides to go paper-free, most of that, those processes have to be translated from, communication or paper-based or even email-based into working in spaces like, SharePoint or other online collaboration workspaces to, allow, online only collaboration kind of thing. So modernizing workspace. So projects like that is something that I definitely enjoy doing.
Very cool. And is there like a particular project that you're enmeshed in right now that you could maybe tell us a little bit about?
Well, right now would be a little bit tricky because most of my work is around, private health information. So like my responsibilities right now are around supporting an online environment for a physical therapy app. So we have to, we have to be HIPAA compliant. So, privacy is very important to us. But one of the big projects that I'm actually proud to be working in is we're working with teams across the world because the app is available globally. So I have to work with teams, people from, in Australia, in Switzerland, in Germany, and all these other countries to sort of come up with processes that are going to be translatable no matter where you are in the world. So I work mainly in like a Microsoft environment. So I have to use these tools to kind of make some of the technology or processes available to our US team to the global team. So that's one of the big projects that I'm working on.
That sounds really cool. That must be exciting to work with people, from such a broad area all over the world. So very nice.
It is exciting, except when you have to deal with time zones, then working at 9 p.m.
Yes, dealing with somebody who's literally on the other side of the globe.
Yes.
All right. So can you tell us a little bit about how a STEM education helped to prepare you for your career and ultimately for your specific current role?
Yeah, so I, like I mentioned earlier, I went to undergrad informatics and my grad program was in information systems management. And I think the one huge thing I learned, going through the university system is, like problem solving skills, because most of the professors we got were actually working in the field as, they were teaching the classes. So them talking about sort of the day-to-day experiences and then applying it to the coursework that we were studying. I think that was very important because, without that, then I would have to be learning from scratch, or like it would, I wouldn't have learned some of those problem solving skills that they'd already implemented. There's also like a lot of people skills that you learn in college that I think are very useful in the work environment, because you get to meet people from all over the world, technically. And, as a woman in IT, most of, our offices are, very, they're not diverse, I guess I should say that. So having to learn how to, communicate, with different types of people in a school environment, working on group projects, talking with, different types of professors, that I think helped me the most in the work environment, but also going through college, you kind of learn how to, rather you see the importance in continuing education. Because working in the tech field, things change constantly, and you have to know how to be able to study, to keep up and stay relevant in the field. So that was also very important.
Yeah, and that's got to be its own really particular challenge. You can't just get the degree and then be done with the study.
Yeah, no, it never stops. Studying never stops.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Mercy, do you are you able to remember a particular moment, or perhaps there was a certain experience that helped spark your passion for technology?
Yes, actually, I was thinking about this, and like looking back in that moment, it was a very small thing, but now I can see how important it was. So in the mid 90s, like, technology is still like pretty new. My mom actually took a course, a Microsoft certification course in like Microsoft Office, so she learned Excel and Word and PowerPoint. And at that point, I think of all her colleagues, so she was a college professor in the field of linguistics. So at that point, most of her, her peers, basically when you're writing papers for publication, you like typewrite it or like handwrite it, or get like, some high school student to type it up for you. So she took the courses, and I could see how even her peers viewed her differently for having this new technology skills. Like she was helping her peers come up with PowerPoint presentations for some paper they wrote, or like for a conference presentation. And something that simple of where I have this one skill, but then I can apply it to, this group of people and help them work better, work more efficiently, present their work to a wider group of people. I think, seeing how technology affected, I mean, it was kind of small, but that I think, inspired me to, get kind of like technology. Yeah.
Isn't it really amazing how these seemingly tiny things can end up setting us on a particular path?
Yeah. It was
How roughly how old were you at the time of that memory or experience that you're telling us?
I think I was in seventh grade. And, like growing up, my parents never really insisted on, oh, you have to follow a certain career. My mom was always like, whatever you feel passionate about, feel free to explore and, do something you like. So when it came time for me picking what I want to study in college, I basically went through like the list of courses and did like by a process of elimination, and ended up with like information sciences and informatics. And, I mean, I never had any regrets. I really enjoyed this career. So yeah.
That's wonderful. Is there, I love that kind of process of elimination. I actually think I did something similar to pick my college major.
Yeah.
What was like your second choice? Like if you hadn't gone into informatics, what would you have ended up as?
I was gonna go into publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go, because I really enjoy reading books, and I think linguists and writers, I mean, if you look at history, most of our history was passed, like early on, like word of mouth, and for me, linguistics and, reading stories and other people's stories, I mean, I'm still passionate about it. So reading is still a passion of mine, but I think technology it won. It was
Okay. Well, very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. So along your study path, your career path, your life path, has there been someone who has particularly inspired you, or maybe someone who mentored you along the way?
I think I get most of my inspiration from, Professor Naomi Shitemi, who is actually my mother. But she, like I mentioned, so she was in the linguistics field, so not in the technology field. But from the get-go, her main ideas, like the idea that your gender should somehow influence your capabilities or your, aptitude or anything like that was like quite ridiculous, So it was always like, do you want to try something, or are you feeling passionate about something? Then why not just go for it, try it, The worst thing that can happen is somebody would say no, and that, if you think about a big picture, is not that bad, receiving no. So I learned from her that if I want to do something, if I feel passionate about something, then I'm the only person stopping myself. So I go for it. And I think that's helped me in a lot of situations, personally and career-wise, like having to work in an environment when, all your coworkers, like there's nobody who looks like you. Actually, of all the jobs that I have had, I've not worked in an IT department with another Black woman, in this far into my career. So you kind of get used to, being the different person and maintaining your confidence level when you're the only different person is not always easy, but, you go for it. There's nothing holding you back but yourself.
Well, your mother sounds like a wonderfully inspiring person. I'd like to meet her now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that what you were just saying about learning that lesson of being able to maintain your confidence, even if you are the only person around who looks like you,
Yeah,
is for sure a really important and valuable lesson, I think, for anybody.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And, sometimes I think about, like, when you're in high school, that's when, you're trying to figure out who you are and, how can we get, like, young girls to know that, just because you have different passions, that doesn't mean that you need to hide it or feel kind of ashamed about it. You should be confident in, who you are and what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, love what you love unabashedly.
Yes.
Wonderful. So Mercy, is there a piece of advice that you might give to someone who is from an underrepresented group in a STEM field and who might be interested in pursuing a similar career or path of study to your own?
So I chose a path of, I went through like college, I went through the education system and studied to get to where I am. So I'm going to speak around that because, I know college is not for everybody, but I think for me it was important going through university and what I learned at university, I don't think I could have learned just by going through the field directly. I understand that, higher education is very expensive. And when I was an undergraduate at Indiana University, I worked at like the admissions and scholarships office.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that there's so many scholarships that go unawarded to people because there's not enough people applying for it. There's always a longer line on the FAFSA office rather than scholarships office. So if you do think about going to university, always look up on the university's website, like what opportunities in terms of scholarship funding can they offer you. If you pick a university, don't hesitate, go to the admissions office, speak with an admissions counselor and say, I am interested in this field and I would like to get, some form of assisted, so like financial funding or like a scholarship opportunity, because there are a lot of opportunities out there and you don't have to have a 4.0 GPA to get access to those fields. I think for most people that I know who chose not to go the higher education route, that was the biggest holdback is, it's expensive and they feel like it's not for them because of the financial reason. So there could be, alternative ways of paying for education. I mean, I did my master's program, and I got a full scholarship for my master's program by getting a graduate assistantship. But I think I got that because I actually went and spoke with the admissions counselor. I'm like, this is my situation. I definitely want to study, what options, what opportunities are there for, somebody like me to be able to come to this school and study. So I think, a higher education, I think, could be useful. Once you're in school, being in IT, having certifications always, makes your resume a lot stronger. So, I personally, I work more on like the Microsoft environment and like the Amazon AWS environment, and their websites have a lot of roadmaps on certifications you can do. And even to sign up for the certifications, you don't have to have like a bachelor's degree to be able to take those certifications. So there's like a lot of online free education. I don't know if you've heard of this website, edX. There's some free online, education being provided by a lot of universities that you can just go on there, attend online classes and study that way. So I think studying, I keep talking about studying, but I think studying is very important in being in the technology field because like I said earlier, a lot of things change and there has to be some form of guidance, and then also, I mean, I'm very, I'm on LinkedIn, which is a professional network. And I think if you want to reach out to somebody, like, you can just do a search on somebody who's in the field that you're interested in, reach out to them, see if you can, meet that person just to get some advice. Like I said, the worst thing that can happen is they would say no and you'd find somebody else. So, reaching out and talking to people in the industry one-on-one, I think it's very helpful.
Wonderful. Well, that all is a lot of really solid advice. And it sounds like there are a lot of options for folks who may not necessarily be pursuing a college degree or may just be outside of that place in their lives, like that edX website. So that sounds really great. So let's see here. Last thing that I was hoping that we could cover today is if you could talk to us a little bit about how important you feel representation within STEM fields is.
I think it's very important, especially when you're, younger and you're not sure what field you would like to go into or what, your career you want to be in. I think it's important to be able to, look around, like even in a school setting and looking around and seeing, okay, there's a teacher who looks like me, or like there's an IT professional and administrator who looks like me. And I can, I think it sort of instills the idea that I can also do it, So I do think it's very important. I think if you don't have that around you, but then you still have an idea that, I'm interested in this specific field. The internet has made the world a lot smaller. So just because you don't see like you being represented, in the circle that you're in, there's a lot of like online resources or, other people who could show you that, being a Black woman from Kenya can also be in like the IT field or an engineering field. So I think it's important. And I think for us who are here, we should be able to show, like younger girls or, the younger generation that, we can do it. So finding ways that we can show representation, I think is also very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like we do have a couple of questions coming in from Facebook that I was hoping to share with you. Yeah. So the first one here is, do you find that there has been as much opportunity for advancement in your field for women as there is for men?
Well, from my experience, I do think that there have been opportunities, and that's based on like the knowledge that you have or whatever certification that you have. One thing is I do feel like I personally have had to work a lot harder than if, like my, male counterparts were in the same field. So I have to stay a lot, more vigilant and diligent with like education, just to show that, I do have the skills and being proactive and I can do this. So I do still have that feeling like I have to work a lot harder than other people, my counterparts, but I do think there are opportunities. But saying that, I think I've also been lucky enough where all the managers that I have had have not, looked at me as a woman and seen that as a negative thing. So I have, had supportive managers as well.
And I think it's simultaneously really important to acknowledge both, any difficulties as well as any kind of like little blessings that you've had along the way, for sure. So we have another question from Facebook. Someone asked, do you mentor any individuals who might also be from Kenya or who might be following your career path?
Right now, I do not. Actually, in the past, I have sort of mentored other people, especially when I was in grad school and undergrad. I did meet some, incoming international students who are in the tech field, and I would sort of, answer questions for them and help them, offer some level of guidance. But I am always open to, talking to somebody and, offering any guidance or talking about my personal experience and, hoping that, that, gives somebody else confidence. So whoever asked that question, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm definitely ready.
Fantastic. That was going to be my next question. I was going to say, should they reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Yes, please. Yeah, my profile on LinkedIn is, it's a public profile. That's probably the best way to reach out to me.
Wonderful. I think, from what I've seen, I think that mentorship of any type, but especially within a field where somebody might be a minority, can just be so incredibly helpful and really bolstering you along your path.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. All right, well, it looks like that is all the Facebook questions that we got rolling in. So we are going to wrap up. Mercy, do you have any final words of wisdom or advice for the folks who are watching us today?
I wouldn't say it's words of wisdom, but one thing that I live by is, this is the one life you have. There's always going to be people saying no, or saying, oh, because you're a woman, you can't do this, or because you're a Black woman, that this doesn't suit you. There's always going to be the naysayers. So find the confidence within yourself that, you have what it takes. And if you don't have it now, how can you get it? We have like infinite space and ability to grow and learn more. So don't feel like just because you don't have it today that you can't have it tomorrow. So if you have any passions, any desires, go out and get it. Don't let anybody stop you.
I think that's an amazing piece of advice, Mercy.
Thank you.
Mercy, I just want to thank you once more so much for joining us today to have this little chat. I really enjoyed it. I hope that you had some fun too.
Well, yes.
Good. And we really hope that everybody who is watching will join us next week for a conversation with Dr. Natasha Tilston-Linnell, a postdoctoral associate at the University of Pittsburgh's Center for Vaccine Research. We will talk to her next Wednesday, September 30th at 11 a.m. right here on Facebook Live. We would really love to hear feedback from anybody who watched us today. We have a brief survey that's going to be linked in the video description and the comments, so you can let us know what you think of our Women in STEM speaker series. Before we go, I want to not only thank Mercy one more time, I also want to thank Danielle, our amazing sign language interpreter. It's been great to do this little chat with y'all. And as always, more details about this series can be found on our website, which is carnegiesciencecenter.org. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.